here we are back in the saddle, so to speak. I'm here today with Elisabeth Humphries of Next Level Strategies, and she's going to talk about some very interesting things. You know, we're doing this little wellness thing today. This is business wellness.
Absolutely.
So, Elisabeth, talking about what we want to talk about today, which is doing away with do-overs. Tell us what you're really passionate about.
And what on earth is do away with do-overs? Well, I just know that in business and in your personal life, you're continually doing something over, and that costs a lot of money.
It does.
So I am an expense reduction expert, and where Roger talked about he does personal coaching, I do business coaching. So I work with the business, look at their processes, and find out where it's broken or where we can find expense reduction, and quite often even just get rid of processes. That's a lot of times there's things going on in the business that the owners and leaders don't even realize don't need to be done.
Yes.
So that's a do away with do-overs, and that might be in your business where you're doing things over and over again because no one like me comes in with a real expert eye and looks at the business and says, did you realize that customer service is repeating the same activity that the warehouse is doing, and what is that costing us? Or it might just be in your daily life. How many times do you get up from your desk, or your personal life or your business life, you get up from your desk and you go to a room to do something, and you go to that room and you get some things done, but you get back to your desk and you didn't do what you were going to do, so you got to do it over. So we all know that costs us a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm an expert at and passionate about, is working with business owners and leaders and even individuals on finding ways to cut the cost and cut the expense, the unnecessary tasks out of their work processes and their work day.
Yeah. So one of the things that when I first met you, and it's been a couple of years ago, is that this was my impression. I mean, you have a corporate background, right?
Yes,
You've worked in corporations for many, many years, so you know the ins and outs of how business works, which is very impressive to me in the beginning, to begin with. But then the other thing is that you're very passionate, you're very compassionate, but you're also, my impression, and of course you can reword this if you want, but it's kind of a take no prisoners attitude where you just get down to business and go, you know what, this is what needs to happen in order for your business to be healthy.
Well, what's different about the way I run my business consulting is I really do get myself into their culture and become one of them.
Yes.
I show up at their workspace to do my work. And if I'm working in the warehouse or running orders between customer service and the warehouse, then I'm dressed like they dress.
Yeah.
And really learn what their processes are and get to know their people, so I'm part of their culture. And then really accept and love on them. I am a compassionate person.
Yeah.
Love on them and learn how they do what they do and what's important to them. And unfortunately ask a lot of questions, and they sometimes don't like that. But yes, my background is mostly Fortune 500, engineer MBA, and went straight into the electronics world after my college career, and spent many, many years in corporate world, and culminating with AT&T. And the company I was actually with, the division I was with, I was the head of operations. So that's a business geek. That's an expert in expense reductions. And we were sold 8 times in 11 years, and that last sale allowed me to leave and start my own consulting.
I like that.
In a good way. And, Roger commented on that himself, that he took a lot of things from those corporate years. And what I took from that is, we all read books by Jack Welch because he has run successful companies. And we want to read what the Rockefellers did to make themselves successful. Well, that's what I help the small entrepreneurs do, is take those things that I learned over 20 years in Fortune 500 and help them apply them without using a lot of fancy words. Like, do away with do-overs in the corporate world is the cost of quality. What does it cost us to do it twice? And that's the cost of bad quality.
Is that why we got the Pinto?
And that's really what it's called.
This is such an important, important element to what you do, especially with small business owners, of which I'm one of them, is we don't often think about what it's costing us to do things
twice.
Twice. We don't even know how much it costs us to do it once.
Right.
And we do find ourselves going over and over and over.
And if you were able to hire yourself, what would you hire yourself for? What would you pay yourself?
That is a brilliant question.
That is good.
Quite a bit.
I'm doing
right?
a lot of things in my company that I wouldn't hire myself for.
Yeah. And so let's look at that. Like, let's just use $200,000 a year because that's a decent income, and it also divides well by 2,000. And we all know there's 2,080 hours in a year, right? So if you're going to take a little bit of vacation, that's $100 an hour, right? Or just roughly under $2 a minute. So every time you do something over that takes you a minute, that's the kind of money you're throwing away. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't have any money to throw away, especially today.
Today is.
So I'm always looking for ways to make those expenses get a lot less. I mean, whether it would be digging down with the office manager and find out what the costs of the copy machines are. You'd be amazed. I found hundreds of dollars in a two-man show in their phone bills, just where there were errors where people just hadn't looked through. In a larger company, again, back to customer service in the warehouse, in looking at them and what their long-range planning was, their growth was all going to come from their internet business because they were a pharmaceutical distribution company. So naturally, that's what's going to grow.
Right.
But their infrastructure really wasn't built to support that. So customer service was walking every internet order to the warehouse, and then they would walk it back, and the whole deal was around trust. They didn't trust that the warehouse would not double pull it and whatnot. And then the other part of that was that in orders that came in through telephone call, they didn't have to pre-bill freight. But as you know, an internet order is going to be put on a credit card. You can't bill them twice. The customer doesn't want bill for the product and then bill for freight. So you had to pre-calculate the freight. And it turned out, in my analysis and just walking with the orders, I like to call that map the process, just from customer order to customer delivery, what do we do? And this was a small company. They're just a few $1 million a year. I don't work with large companies at all. I bring my expertise of the Fortune 1000 to the very small
Which
companies.
is where
and
it's
love
really
that.
needed.
Yeah.
It's very,
but
very
anyway, what
needed.
we found was
it's hard to find people that will work at that.
I love it because I really, like I said, get involved in the culture and am compassionate with them. Well, bottom line on that story is that found out that the warehouse was actually quoting the freight dollars, not the weight, back to customer service, and unbeknownst to them, they were using the company website, which gave the company discount. So we were losing money in freight because you don't get your freight discount until 2 weeks later when they know how many boxes you sent. So you may think you're going to get a 20%, but you only get a 15%. So we found over $200,000 in losses in a company as small as that.
That makes a big difference.
Really does. So whether you're, the other thing I like to say, the story I like to use with business owners and leaders is take advantage of that time when you get up to your desk to walk to the bathroom or the Coke machine. Go the longest route. Now, maybe not to the bathroom, but when you're heading back to your desk, go the longest route and take advantage of that time. Years ago, we called that MBWA, didn't we? Management by walking around. But I just call it using good use of your time. Walk through the area and make sure you stop and talk to at least 2 people, even if it's just, hi, what are you doing? Or patting them on the back and making them feel good. Build up that emotional bank account. So that's really not along the do-overs, but it is part of making really good use of every minute of your day.
Yeah, Elizabeth, one of the things that I'm hearing that I think is so important, in fact, I just sent an email, maybe a little bit scathing this morning, to an organization that I happen to belong to and pay a lot of money to belong to, about is that there is, and this is endemic right now, it's an epidemic of this lack of systemic thinking.